Gentlemen, today we are talking about the concept of the American Rifleman. But I have a fun guest with me today who has a better KD ratio than I do, Mr. Rittenhouse. Kyle, get over here. Thanks for coming along, man. You are a rather notorious rifleman with a lot of media coverage of your time using a rifle, and I figured this would be a perfect topic to go over with you today.
Absolutely, I'm excited to get into it. I'm excited to do some shooting.
Let's dive on in, you heard the man. Whoa! The American Rifleman is a concept that predates even America's inception. If you go back to colonial days when we were under the British colonies, even thinking to like Last of the Mohicans, there were notorious riflemen using Kentucky or Virginia long rifles to great effect over their musket. And of course, time would progress and the American Rifleman would be a staple of our country. Now, in modern settings, America, last time I Googled, has around 400 million guns that we know of. And I gladly stand up next to you, making us the most well-armed country in the world. I think it's like 120 guns per 100 people or something like that. That math checks out, right? Yeah,
maybe.
We are essentially a very well-armed country, and we take a lot of pride in our gun ownership if you are a gun person.
We're taking our destiny back! You're not our gods or our masters!
The American Rifleman is a concept that is part of that, where not only are we well-equipped with handguns, but we are well-equipped with rifles, because rifles are great force-multiplying tools. Now, enough talking. Kyle and I are gonna run some drills because it is fun, and this is a firearms-based channel, a base firearms channel, one might say.
100% based.
You'll take the left guy, I'll take the right guy. We'll go separate times with the shot timer. What we're gonna do is a bill drill. I'll go first. 6 rounds, as fast as you can. We'll go for the A zone. All right, ready?
Oh, shoot, sorry. Cut.
Oh! You caught me off guard. We have to go when it beeps. All right, 160, nice and slow. Kyle caught me slacking. That's got rained in your brass. All right, looks like we got 1 Charlie. We gotta dial that in. We'll go again real quick. I had a line break, it looks like. 149, Kyle, you ready? Oh, let's get 2 more. There you go. 377. When I was a child, I went fishing with my father, and upon casting out my lure, I also happened to release my fishing rod. And to my father's horror, we both watched my fishing rod sink to the bottom of the lake. While I'm not an avid angler today, I can still fill that itch with this video's sponsor, Fishing Clash. One might say, I'm hooked. Oh, look at that fish. Hell of a catch. Blue runner. Delicious. Fishing Clash is a mobile game available on the iOS and App Store for you to fulfill your fishing needs wherever you may be, because sometimes we're not always around a body of water. In Fishing Clash, you can create your own fishing village, collect a variety of species, you can do global fishing locations, competitive gameplay, you can even upgrade your fishing rod and equipment, and you have excellent customization options. The game is also competitive. There are weekly and daily events. You can go head-to-head against other players, which competition breeds excellence. If you want to get a little bit of a bonus, use code ADMIN to collect a little bit of a gift when signing up in Fishing Clash. Link will be in the description down below. See, I should be working on the YouTube-y things, but I just can't put Fishing Clash down. Let's do a hostage drill to the head as fast as we can on our respective targets.
All right.
So make sure you get in that credit card box. Gonna be a little height over bore. Nice, a little low. Try again. Nice. There's a 3.9. There you go, credit card. All right, now get me. Ooh. Height over bore is pretty intense with this T2 on top of an LPVO. Hostage, hostage, hostage. There we go, right where I want her. All right, one more, because it's fun. Ah, too low, just below the credit card. Height over bore is important. Gentlemen, this ammo is provided by AAC, the ammo sponsor of the channel. A big thank you to those guys. I appreciate them very much for hooking up with ammo, and they can help get you nice and stocked up as well. So head on over to AAC. Big thank you to those guys. So Kyle is someone that has some experience with the rifle. Now, handguns are great at putting bullets into people, but they aren't necessarily the best at outright stopping a threat. Now, as someone that has experience with the rifle, you can say that a 5.56 does a pretty good job at stopping threats, would you say?
I'd say it's a great round for defense, home defense, and protecting your life. It saved mine.
This is big facts. So a lot of modern Americans have an AR-15. It's just one of the most widespread gun that the well-prepared American is going to have, and that is for a reason. There There's plenty of parts, a plethora of inventory for them, many different rounds you can choose from, and they have evolved to be very freaking good at a very good price. And so the AR-15 has become the gun of the modern American rifleman. So you're a young man, correct?
Absolutely.
You're what, 21?
Yes, sir.
We're both essentially young gentlemen.
How do you do, fellow kids?
We kind of grew up when gun culture was on the ramp up. Do you remember back in the day your first experience with any sort of AR-15s?
Yeah, I was 17.
We don't have non-lethal.
And what was on that gun? What was the attachments?
Well, my first rifle, the M&P 15 with a sight mark on it and a cheap sling from a gun store. That was really my first experience. Didn't shoot it that much, maybe only 500 rounds through it.
Nice. My first experience, I had older brothers and they were in the Army and they had essentially an A2 style upper with a 16-inch barrel and then a weapon light, so it was just irons. And that was kind of what I first got my feet wet with. And then down the road when I became an adult, I got my first AR-15. Mainly ran irons and a weapon light because I couldn't really afford a good red dot yet. But it's crazy to see the evolution of AR-15s and the quality that we've gotten. And what I mean by that is not just the quality of the build themselves, and the reliability you can get out of those for a good economic price point, but for the attachments that you're gonna throw onto them now. Because I mean, if you think about it, on this one alone, I have magnification, I have a red dot, I have a laser that I can see in the dark with, and I have a weapon light to help me see in the dark visibly with. So there's a lot going on to the guns now where it's like the level of preparedness that we have, and yeah, it's gonna be a little bit more expensive with all this stuff on it, but the level of performance is that much now better, where all these tools come together to make the American Rifleman that much more efficient at his craft. It is really cool to see that, because when we were younger, and I'm sure even some of you older guys were like, man, this AR market is just not it. I would say maybe all the high-speed cool guys were the only guys that had the kit out there back in the day. And then now what we're seeing is acceptance of well-prepared civilian firearms ownership, and it is just awesome to see that, and I love that very much.
Absolutely. I love to see that as well. We have so many young Americans out there preparing, setting up kits, getting body armor, getting rifles and going out and training. And that's what our founding fathers saw for us and want us to do.
Do you think the founding fathers were picturing AR-style weapons?
So you touched on it just now about training. Now, the American Rifleman just isn't an AR-15 owner, but they're also very well equipped when it comes to gear, say night vision, nylon webbing, just in general mobility, but also training, because training is a very important part. And there's also never been such a market where the gun owner can go out and seek good training, because what are these tools without the knowledge to implement them, and also the legality that could follow going along with that. Now, you're someone that has a painful knowledge of the justice system and how that works. Say if you had to use your rifle in self-defense, especially in a societal setting, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was in a situation where I had to defend myself. We aren't going to get too much into that, but knowing like what's going to happen, being prepared to be able to stay alive and not be killed is very important. And I've been out in the range quite a bit since my incident happened, and I've gotten a lot more training just for the need of survival and knowing that there are other people who want to kill me who are also out training, and you want to be better equipped than the people who want to kill you.
That's a good point. You are hated, so act accordingly and train accordingly. Generally speaking, you live in a very, very safe country. So a lot of people don't think, hey, why would I need this skill? But it's one of those that you would rather have it and need it than need it and not have it, because it is so important. Having the level and capacity for extreme amounts of, should I say violence? Do you think violence would get struck? Having the capacity for violence is definitely a good thing, but of course, knowing how to wield that is also the true power, because it ensures a much more peaceful society.
Growing up, I grew up in Illinois and Wisconsin. It was just very uncommon for people to talk about firearms. Like you talked about firearms, you were the devil. You would never see people open carrying. Nobody carried a gun. There were a lot of victims in Illinois. We see the crime statistics. We look at the robbings and the break-ins and the murders in Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. Those are all gun-safe zones.
Right.
But let's be real here. Criminals are still going to get guns. So when that happens, you have to call 911. You may not have the time to do that. Like, what are you gonna do? Somebody's like holding you up at gunpoint saying, give me your wallet or I'm gonna kill you. Are you gonna fall victim and let them kill you or rob you? Absolutely not. You should carry a firearm. You should be able to protect yourself.
That's my purse. I don't know you.
Now, I know it may seem like we're preaching to the choir, because if you're watching this, you're probably thinking, yeah, no duh, dummies, I already do all this. But chances are you have family members, you have friends that necessarily haven't bought into this message. And it can be challenging and frustrating at times to try and win them over to your thought process of thinking. And I'm sure you've even seen it during times of civil unrest or times of uncertainty in the country. If we go back to 2020, one of the peak election times, and I'm sure we may see something happening this year that could really ruffle a lot of feathers as far as safety goes. I gotta sneeze. Contact. So we may see uncertain times with the upcoming election, which I hope we don't, but a lot of times what you'll see during that is typically more normal folks are like, hey, do you have a spare gun I could have, or do you have a gun I could borrow? Like, I'm not saying I would, but if you're giving them this power, they're essentially, they'll be a little bit well off, but they're not gonna be as good as they could be because they're missing so many vital things that goes into being a responsible firearms owner. Winning them over may be tough, but it's important to have those conversations with those friends and say, hey, listen, I really care about you, I really care about your well-being. If you come at it from a place where the world is very unsafe and that there are bad people out there that want to harm you, then that may win them over, right? Just calling them dumb because they don't want a gun isn't the best route, but we both know it's kind of true because guns are freaking sick.
It's the sickest thing I've ever done, dude.
That's awesome.
It's good to win these people over and to see their ways and know that, hey, responsible firearms ownership is the way to go.
I know I've had some friends in the past who are weary of firearms, and sometimes all it takes is being like, hey buddy, come out to the range with me, let's go shooting. Sometimes it's all you have to do and pique their interest, give them a nice small caliber to shoot, something that's not too painful, like 5.56 AR-15 rifle. They just may fall in love and get one of their own and start training with it.
If you love your family, prove it with a gun.
And what I've found is that the gun crowd, for most part, they're all pretty nice folks. They all talk softly and carry a big stick in that certain sense, but they're very polite, they're very welcoming to new people, and they love to show people how to go about responsibly carrying a firearm. And there's also just a plethora of different training out there, and I can't name them all, but you're gonna have to go and seek that out yourself if maybe you want to get your feet wet in this. Now, another thing that I love about American gun ownership, especially when it comes to the concept of American Rifleman, is the security it allows your country. Now, there was a saying back in World War II, the Japanese said, behind every blade of grass there's a rifleman, and now, shut up! And that concept, as cheesy as a line that is now, it still holds true. The American population is very well armed and they are only becoming that much more well equipped. A lot of innovation within the civilian firearms sector at times can bleed into military or law enforcement sector. I think of PRS, where you have precision rifle shooting, where those guys, they have their whole sciences down. They're really good at putting lead very, very far away. There's a lot that government agencies can learn from certain civilian factions because of what they're doing in their interests. They can help drive and make our military be more lethal overseas, which I find rather interesting. We even saw during the times in Ukraine, there was a surgence of civilians getting firearms. Now, some people on either sides of the aisle, of course, are all going to agree that being well armed will get you well defended, but it's weird to see say people that aren't even pro-gun advocating now for civilians getting assault rifles when the time is necessary.
I'm determined to ban assault weapons in this country.
But how much more equipped could those civilians have been if they had even more time with those rifles, training with the gear that goes along with it, and even more force multiplication tools that could stop, say, armored threats or different style of more advanced threats than just a rifle could. Because going to that level of fighting, there's a lot more that you're gonna need to take on a big threat like that, but definitely having a rifle is a good spot to be. Of course, gentlemen, as we close out, I also want to thank Fishing Clash yet again, helping to keep the lights on and helping to keep you entertained when you're bored and you need something to do on your phone besides, of course, watching this YouTube video. But big thank you to Fishing Clash. Kyle, I appreciate you coming out, man, and doing this video with me. This will be a fun little thing. We're gonna actually do a podcast too, so I will encourage you to alley-oop you over to that podcast where I get to sit down with Kyle, pick his brain a bit, and we do some more talking there. But for now, we're gonna boot, scoot, and boogie. Keep your eyes peeled for Kyle's channel. Do you wanna link him where it's at?
You guys can check out my channel, Kyle Rittenhouse. That simple.
Oh, there you go. All right, let's get out of here.
Perfect.